All right, I've gotten a couple of requests of like how I go through news and stuff, so I'm just gonna go ahead and live cast me reading the news. This is an article called "A Big Shoe Just Dropped," and then somebody says a big shoe drop. Okay, this doesn't matter. Next up, this is a listing for a curling sweater. Um, it's $80. Nobody buy this. I might buy it. Okay. Mar-a-Lago neighbors discover costs of Trump visits. Um, this is some more news that doesn't matter. Okay, here's Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics does a pretty good job of trying to get meta news or kind of to bring together a lot of narratives, but they have a lot of opinion pieces, and it's just frankly not very good. Trump proposal would deport more immigrants immediately. Um, this probably doesn't matter, but I'm glad that the New York Times, after 16 years, is reporting on immigration issues. Good for them. I hope they keep doing it. Trump and mental health, how a signature campaign casts light on the president's sanity. This is not important. Okay, this is kind of a fun video. This was 5 things we know about ideological subversion, a hashtag NWO, hashtag MK Ultra. Um, there's not really anything about the hashtag NWO or the hashtag MK Ultra in this video, but that's okay. It
Found
starts with the
interview took
interview
place with a former
with this
Soviet spy, in which he
Russian
went into
guy.
something I
I'll
have
turn
covered
this down.
on the channel before,
Starts
but
with the
now
interview
I'm
with
going
the
to go
Russian
into it
guy, yada yada yada.
by a
Then
former
it goes.
KGB
You got some
officer
nice
and
Clockwork Orange
propaganda.
references. There's some videos. The Russian guy goes into, they're just trying to make everything confusing, yada yada yada. And they go, and then he starts talking about this person here who's apparently like I don't know why they made her green, but she's apparently like somebody who was speaking at the women's march who spent 25 years in prison or whatever, and she spent 25 years in prison for like murdering some dude and locking him in a trunk or something like that. And he's basically making the point that
Well, it seems all
that like these positive movements like the women's march, right, which is like a coalescing of something. I don't know exactly what the Women's March was for, but like they take these movements that are obviously beneficial, like fighting for women's rights, fighting for women's reproductive rights, and things like that, and they put these morally corrupt and decrepit leaders in charge of them in order to sort of discredit the movement, and also more to sow confusion amongst the followers, and in order to you, sort of start creating like a moral dissonance or a moral relativism among the followers. And I think it's a pretty good point. It was a good video. I would recommend it, even though this guy's speech cadences are intolerable. Scientists say they've discovered a new hidden continent under New Zealand. So yeah, there was a continent that we didn't know about, but now we know about it, and we're pretty sure we have all the continents on lockdown. So yeah, so now we figured that out, so that's good. Warren Buffett's $10 billion airline reinvestment reveals everything you need to know about the industry. This article has a lot of economic excuses or explaining, but basically what happens is Warren Buffett decides something like on a whim or based on whatever his emotional mood is that day, and billions of dollars of investment follow his every whim, which is definitely a good way to run things. Demonizing Russia, fake news, the conflict of interest involving Amazon, the Washington Post, and the CIA. Okay, so I think the WikiLeaks tweeted this out. It's basically drawing attention to the fact that the Washington Post is owned by Jeff Bezos, who also, through Amazon, his other company, has a contract for $600 million with the CIA. And it calls into question whether or not this is a conflict of interest. Is it a conflict of interest? Yes. I mean, $60 million per year is nothing to sneeze at. Um, but I don't think there's like the CIA has agents at the Washington Post, or really any more so than they do at any news agency, right? I think it's more of just sort of a they tend to spit a mainstream line because that's what makes them money. Um, Not necessarily an inherent corruption thing. U.S. carrier starts routine polls in the South China Sea. This is sort of fear mongering. We're gonna be at war with Eurasia. We've always been at war with Eurasia. Look for more news stories along this line because Trump is basically doing a reversal of Nixon's China policy, and he's becoming friends with Russia in order to alienate China, in order to keep the two other superpowers basically at conflict with each other and try to maintain American supremacy. Yada 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 yada. Um, like I said, hit me up when something breaks that narrative. Here's another one from Zero Hedge. I don't know if it says some different stuff, and I don't really care. This is the Donald subreddit. There's a lot of swearing on it. What I wanted to bring to people's attention was with this whole Sweden thing that happened, right? The narrative of Trump supporters was that the thing that Trump said that was factually wrong was brought up in order to raise awareness of the issues that Sweden has faced because of immigration, like a woman in a wheelchair getting gang raped, or yada yada yada. I'm Swedish and I'm jumping on the Trump train on Facebook. There's a lot of f bombs, a lot of it's really obnoxious. But the point is, you guys need to start learning why. If you're against Trump and you're following news stories like this, you need to start learning why you keep losing the news cycle. Here's another Zero Hedge article that the FBI is pursuing 3 separate probes into Russian hacking of the elections. This is interesting and probably super important. Guccifer 2, I think, could easily be a Russian hacker. I think the WikiLeaks stuff probably isn't as much. And yeah, I don't know. Well, but it's all, it's a spectrum. It's we'll see what happens. This is in other news. Screencasting apps for Mac OS 10 are very expensive, but it does come with QuickTime Player, so you can do free screencasting for that. How will we get over the Trump addiction? Yeah, okay, so this is pretty important. I didn't actually read this article. Yeah, this is good. Let's face it, Trump is an addiction. Nothing will ever trump it. Oh, this is poorly written. Oh, geez. Trump shows have, yeah, okay. Anyway, the point is that, like, all of the news media now, whether it's pro-Trump or anti-Trump, is entirely dependent on the Trump news cycle in order to make their money. And I think a lot of the people who are reporting on Trump don't realize this yet. And that's why a lot of the news media is manufacturing Trump outrage, and they're not doing any actual investigative work into the Trump administration. They're just sort of reacting. They're doing these knee-jerk Trump outrage pieces because they sell, and also because the reporters themselves are getting outrage. He's gotten very good at pushing their buttons and stuff. So yeah, I can't really say if it's worth reading this article or not. I'm going to skip it for now. I finally watched this. It's really, really awful. So it's if it's not all over your internet, it's all over my internet. Milo Yiannopoulos is this reactionary alt-right dude. Bill Maher is the old politically incorrect guy who's not really relevant anymore, so he had Milo on so that he could pretend to be relevant, and he touches him sexually a lot, and it's kind of embarrassing. So then you got Larry Wilmore, who's the guy on the Colbert Report replacement, the Minority Report, and let's see who else is on there. This guy is like ex NSA spy or whatever, and he's very much an establishment thing. And basically, his point is, I think, to like, I don't know what the point of having him on is. Seems like a war criminal to me. And then this guy, I couldn't really tell what his thing was. He's some kind of conservative dude. Everyone kind of comes off looking like an idiot. I think these are all pretty horrible people. It does sort of vibe like Milo is entering the ranks of the horrible people and will in the future be one of the horrible people we hear from for quite some time. I think he made it through the Gamergate news cycle. He made it through the election news cycle. He's probably here to stay. But I haven't heard him really say anything super relevant. Supposedly his book is going to be like more relevant and educated and less outrage provoking and yada 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 yada. but I can't really imagine it being anything other than an obnoxious polemic on the importance of free speech, which is like, yes, free speech is important, and sometimes people say outrageous things to defend free speech, but like we get that it's been done. I'm interested if you can create controversy by saying honest things you believe in, um, and not lying to create controversy. Because yeah, whatever. I think Milo's flash in the pan. I don't think he's flash in the pan like you'll forget about him in a month because he's going to be an obnoxious pundit for years to come. But I think he's pretty flash in the pan in the spectrum of history. Okay, that's it. I hope this wasn't too long. Anyway, stop. How do I stop it?